Woo! Bow. Yep. What's up, people? It's another episode of the Giants Guys, and we're live on YouTube because somehow Twitter and StreamYard are not getting along anymore. So we're on YouTube now. And of course, I've got Spartan Mike in the room. I've got, of course, as promised, I got Zach. And Zach, I don't even need to introduce you because everybody knows that you're like hot off the press, hot off the airplane with some brand new, news. Because I'm assuming, as we alluded to, you were on the plane on the way home back to Jersey or PA. How does it go down? Like, is your phone buzzing? Is it like some? Are you just like, do you pay for the do you pay for the airline connection to your phone, and you're checking your phone? Are you sleeping and the guy next to you bumps you and says, "Hey, they just fired Jason Garret"? How does it happen?
I had my laptop and I bought the Wi-Fi, and I wanted to sleep because I didn't get very much sleep last night. But I had a feeling it was going to happen while I was flying. Of course, that's how these things work out. Yeah. And I went almost a whole 2.5 hour flight. Nothing was happening, and then as they're telling us that we're getting ready to, start to land, the news comes across Twitter. And then luckily I had stuff written, and my coworkers helped me get the story I wrote up. But yeah, so it was a little chaotic for a minute there, but yeah, it was as I was landing, and then got home, popped on the press conference with Joe, and then now I'm back here with you guys.
All right. Well, you said that you expected Jason Garret to be fired, because I'll be honest with you, I was a little surprised waking up and seeing that news today.
After the way Joe's press conference went yesterday, I was not surprised. Joe doesn't talk like that unless there's a reason for it. And it would have been awkward just the way he, without saying Jason Garrett's name, just called him out for not getting the team ready. It would have been so awkward if he had come back at that. I mean, I guess you could have seen it because I know the organization likes Jason, but the writing was on the wall, I thought. And if they hadn't done it, it would have just been another wild day in Giants. So I mean, I guess it wouldn't have been that.
Yeah. Well, let's back up. So when did you fly into Tampa?
Fly in for the game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I flew out. I usually fly out the day before, so I was out there on Sunday.
So you're out there on Sunday, you're chilling out, watching the games, enjoying the weather. Monday comes around, game time. You go to the stadium, beautiful stadium, great place to see a game, right? I don't know if you're in the press box or where they put you guys. But so you're watching this game unfold, and I'll say, I was in the car. Usually I'm home and locked in, right? But I had something to do, so I was in the car for the first. So it was 7-3. Okay, so I guess maybe the first 14 to 20 minutes, somewhere in there. I'm in the car. What's your take on the game when the game starts? Because it seemed the Giants' first drive, they went right down the field. Now, as per normal, just a field goal. But what was your take when the game started? Did you have any that, hey, we might be able to do something here?
Well, first the Bucs stormed up the field with extreme ease on their first drive.
7 plays, 70 yards, I think it was, or something close to that.
They got there no problem.
Yeah, which wasn't ideal. It's why I don't know if you want to give Brady the ball first, especially if you're a Giants team that needs everything to go right. But after that, a lot of stuff was going in their favor. I mean, again, what happened in the red zone is kind of exemplary of what's been an issue with Jason Garret the whole time. They do those long drives where they get to the red zone, then they don't finish it out. They make a couple mistakes, bad play call, penalty, Will Hernandez, the receivers don't get open, and all of a sudden you're kicking a field goal. So it was not a wasted drive because points are points, which is I guess how they operate. But so that was tough. And then they were playing fairly well. I think Tom Brady was kind of having his way with the defense for the most part, but they're still kind of keeping them out of the end zone. They got lucky on that touchdown they had because Adoree Jackson, the ball just landed in his hands, and then they were able to run that cool play to Andrew Thomas, which was, that's the thing with Jason Garret. He'll occasionally throw a wrinkle in where it's okay, that was interesting, but then he would revert back to the same stuff. But anyway, but yeah, and there's as it has been all year, there was many opportunities they had to keep this game close, to make it a thing. And then just weird decision after weird decision. They get in the third quarter, and the way they ran that 4th and 1 play, where they had Colin Johnson was the only receiver on the field, which was confounding.
The one that caught me off guard was the play clock is running down.
Yeah,
and
before
Jones
halftime.
is, he's still moving guys. He's moving receivers off the
Oh,
line,
yeah,
on
you're
the
talking
line,
about that.
off the line.
Yeah, on the fourth
And
down.
then, then he turns around and he hands the ball to Booker up the middle. And I'm like, what? What's that?
No, just all that. Just thinking that it was all that for like, what was the point?
And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking with all this movement, this has got to be something they worked on all week long. And maybe they're still not, maybe they still don't have it quite down yet, but something good's going to come. He hands the ball to Booker in the middle. I was completely slack-jawed. I mean, I was like, yeah, and it's not just a head scratcher; it's beyond a head scratcher because, like you just mentioned, like you get something going your way, and you feel like he throws in these wrinkles. So to coin your word, there, I feel like he's appeasing me. You know what I mean? Like he's like, you know what? I better put these 3 trick gadget plays in so everybody's off my back because it literally
they're often not well placed. It'll just be like, well, I don't know why they did that play at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I ask you this, Zach? Why do you think it is? When I see Tom Brady, I mean, it doesn't look like the Buccaneers are running the craziest plays. The difference is they're just executing on every single one of them. And they have Brady. Don't get me wrong, but what was it about Garrett's offense that with all these weapons and all these players, they're not able to execute on these plays? It's just missed throws all over the place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the biggest trouble they had in Garrett, I don't know if this was a factor. Garrett pretty much complained about the offensive line. The offensive line, I think that plays a big part in why they aren't ever able to get things going. And it leads to, the way Garrett calls plays and, they scheme receivers in a way that they don't really get open. I'm sure you guys saw that play that kind of was blowing up where Dan Orlovsky and Brian Baldinger kind of broke down where
all came in the middle. Yeah.
Three guys.
Yeah.
And then there's like a diamond.
Honestly, that like was one of the bigger indictments on, I think, the problem Joe Judge. I'm sure Joe saw that, and that was probably one of the things he got angry about with Jason. Like that, I mean, you can't have that happen. But that's the thing; they run routes like that constantly, where they're not really getting any depth. They're just they're trying to do quick passes and runs, and to avoid getting Daniel sacked, so they're not taking risks and. It's just not the way you play football in 2021. Like they're not the first team to ever have a bad offensive line. I never really got that excuse.
Yeah, interesting you say that because one is I want to make sure I'm on the record saying I am not a Louis Riddick guy under any circumstances. But he brought up what's up, Carl? He said something like that to me was something I've kind of been talking about for a while. But what the heck do I know? And then Riddick says it on national TV. That 80%, 70% of what they do is on the outside of the field. Like they're constantly running out routes and check downs and screens to the outside of the field. The middle of the field is never used or utilized. There's just no posts, there's no skinny posts, there's no crossing routes, there's no drags, that mid-range, that 10, 15-yard stuff. And that's what Brady did all day. All day was across the middle. He would catch the safety. The safety would take him for a while and then hand him to the corner. And in between the safety and the corner, he'd be wide open. And Riddick nailed it when he said it. And that's hard for me to say, because I'm not a fan of the guy. But like, I don't understand how it even took this long to figure out that he's just underutilizing some really good talent.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I think Joe deserves criticism because like there's nothing that happened in that Buccaneers game that hasn't been. I mean, maybe to an extreme degree, some things were happening, look more disorganized, but they did the same stuff they've been doing since Jason was the offensive coordinator. I don't know what's clicked on him. I don't know why he thought he should wait until after the bye week or why he thought he should bring Jason back at all this year. But I mean, the fact that Kenny Golladay, who, I think there could be an argument that towards the end of the game, maybe he was dogging it a little bit, but there was plays where he was wide open in the middle of the field. They're not targeting him. You're not using Kenny Golladay in the way that his skill set works. So I get why he would get discouraged. You're not, giving him 50-50 balls on the sideline or, getting them down the field. And it's been confounding. Like they just don't know how to. They spent all this money on all these big time guys, and it didn't seem like they really had a plan for how to use any of them.
Or I don't think he has a touchdown catch this whole season.
Yeah, Andrew Thomas has more touchdowns than Kadarius and
insanity.
Yeah, the Tony thing drives me a little bit nuts because like we all know that we didn't really, with signing of Galladay, you didn't really need another receiver, but we got one. So if you're making the statement saying, I'm stamping this draft pick as my guy, like Judge's draft, right? He's saying, this is my guy. This is the guy I want. And he's non-existent. I think maybe, and I'm throwing snake eyes probably because I don't know what's going on in the building, but I'm guessing that he gave him 2 weeks to prepare, to say, you got 2 weeks to make a show. Even if we don't win and we compete, that shows that you put that extra, they're prepared, the extra time, maybe the extra strategy, whatever it is. But they came out and they just, for lack of a better word, they crapped the bed because there was really, they looked unprepared. It's all you can say.
To come out of bye looking unprepared is as bad as it can get, too. That's just, and the fact that it was on national TV, so the Giants, they're the way the Giants have been the last like 5 years, they're kind of just like an afterthought nationally, except for when they come on national TV and when they have a stinker like that. I'm sure that played a factor. I'm sure John Mara was embarrassed. I'm sure there's just embarrassment all around the organization because that was. I mean, they were getting made fun of all day today before Jason Garret got fired. So yeah. I mean, it's tough. Like even like you were talking about Tony, just to go back to that, like it felt like a luxury pick for a team that has so many needs that they shouldn't be making luxury picks. I think he's way more talented than I expected. I think he still needs to learn route running and stuff like that. I'm very intrigued by his future, but yeah, for a team that was trying to go all in on, for whatever reason, they decided they wanted to go all in on winning this year when they clearly weren't ready for that. Even that was a strange pick. They needed pass rushers and needed offensive linemen. Yeah,
and I'm with you on the intriguing aspect of Tony because you saw that. Did he have 1 or 2 catches last night?
He actually had like 5, but I think a lot of them were garbage time.
Oh yeah, that's right. You saw the play. Jones was rolling out to his right. He had no one in the middle of the field. You saw Tony sitting and realized he had space, and he slid over, towards the sideline, and Jones hits him. Like, I think he's got a good nose for the ball and a good feel for the field. Like, there really isn't any reason why you're not getting 6 balls apiece between Galladay. 12 total between Galladay and Tony. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. And my wife says, I was telling her, what happened because, she went to bed. She's like, I'm not watching this, right?
Understandable, yeah.
Yeah, but the next day she's like, why don't they actually use these guys? She's like, all season long you've been telling me how good these guys are, and they don't use them. She says, what plays are they running if they're not throwing it to them? And I was scratching my head because I'm like,
that's a deep question for the morning,
Yeah, like you're sitting there in a second. I'm like, if we're not throwing to Galladay and we're not throwing to Tony, what do we waste our offense?
Who are you throwing it to at that point?
Yeah.
And then you say to yourself, well, it must be our offensive coordinator. He sucks. And then you get an alert on your phone that says he just got fired, right? Is that how your morning went, Craig?
It was something like that. But I will say that, you guys probably found out before I did because I got jamming on some stuff. And then, being a Giant season ticket holder and having an account, I get alerted to whatever press conferences and blah, blah, blah. So I got the alert, but you know how fast Twitter is. So I probably was a good, 20 minutes behind everybody else, because I wasn't paying attention. Shame on me. So let me digress for a second, Zach. So you're at the game. Things are falling apart. And we is it just at the point where you throw your hands up, you're like, oh, here we go again? Or like, what's the mood amongst the guys that you work with? I mean, you're probably in a room with 3 or 4 guys that from around the area.
I mean, I included this line in my story, but I mentioned this earlier about how the Giants are kind of out of sight, out of mind for a lot of football fans, and then they watch them nationally, and it's the same stuff that all the Giants fans and all the Giants writers have been seeing. And there's that meme with James Franco. It's from a movie where he's like standing at the gallows with like the rope around his neck, and he's like, "First time, huh?" And I feel like Giants fans are just like thinking. You just see the way like national analysts are like reacting to the things the Giants do that are confounding, and But again, it really is just deja vu every week. It's the same stuff the same stuff happens. They shoot themselves in the foot the same ways. They make the same mistakes. Daniel Jones, you think he's looking good for a few weeks, and then he comes out and puts out a stinker like he did. It's tough. It's tough for the fans. Sometimes think we're just being negative to be negative. Like we want them to be good. We want them to be entertaining and fun to watch, and they're just not fun to watch right now.
It's 5 losing seasons in a row. We have a right to be upset about this, you know.
Yeah.
But you had a good point about Jones. You know, I was watching last night. We were just talking about sometimes there were open receivers, and the one thing that I feel like Jones has constantly failed to develop is his ability to read the field past the first option.
Yep.
You know,
he focuses in on who he's supposed to target on the play or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think he'll be back next year?
It's a good question. Just because of their like financial and asset situation. Like if I'm guessing right now, I still think in the organization they like him. I think they're still going to use the line of the offensive line and the supporting cast and the injuries. At some point, you have to overcome that as a quarterback, and he just hasn't done that. But my prediction, and I've been thinking this recently, is that the idea is that this draft doesn't really have a guy at quarterback or whatever. Maybe they sign a veteran and have him push Daniel in camp. Maybe whoever wins is the quarterback next year. If Daniel struggles, that guy becomes a starter, and then they look to draft a guy next year or something. Because they just don't have the money to trade for one of those star guys where the fans will probably want them to. Like they're not going to get Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, stuff like that.
You took the word right out of my mouth. If Russell Wilson's not coming, Daniel Jones is your QB, and maybe you can find a Fitzmagic or something like that to come in and push him a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of the point. Because like the odds are these rookies aren't going to be better than Daniel Jones right away. I mean, I honestly don't know that much about these guys. I just know everybody keeps saying they're not. There's like no guy yet, and it's pretty late in the year for there not to be a guy.
Yeah, there really is. I mean, college football doesn't have that standout where under normal years, you get 5 guys, but 2 are locks. Like 2 guys just can ball, right?
Yeah. And also, not to cut you off, but like part of the problem is they can keep bringing all these quarterbacks. If they don't fix the offensive line and the pass rush first, it's not going to matter. So,
well, I was just going to ask you that, Zach, because you had mentioned earlier that Jones can't use the O-line as an excuse. My concern is though that you kind of alluded to it just now. If we draft another quarterback anyway, even if they're the real deal, it's very tough for a quarterback to develop behind a really bad offensive line. A lot of quarterback busts do bust out simply because the offensive line wasn't there to protect them.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. That's like such the fine line with Daniel, because I think he showed some flashes earlier this year where he had me kind of convinced that he could at least, he was starting to show that he could be a quality starting quarterback. And then he kind of regressed back to some of the same mistakes he's made his whole career.
Yeah.
So that's like where the concern is. But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely like it at some point it might just be a what if that we never get answered of what he would look like behind a good offensive line. Because the reality is they're going to have to completely revamp the offensive line again this offseason. Even Jason Garret said it, and he was right. Andrew Thomas is the only cornerstone guy they have. I don't know if you can necessarily rely on Nick Gates being Nick Gates again.
No, you can't.
At least not right away. Will Hernandez clearly is kind of not the solution. Billy Price, I don't think is the solution. Matt Segura is probably ideal as a backup more than like the starting guy. So so you really are getting all new guys. They don't have the money to go and get like great free agents. So you're getting bargain bin guys and you're drafting rookies. And as you saw with Andrew Thomas as a rookie, like rookies often take a while to adjust. So you might. The odds are they're not going to have a great offensive line next year either. So you have to factor that in.
Let's stay on that topic real fast, because I was just reading Carl's comment here that Jones is running for his life. And that is true, Carl. He is running for his life a lot of the time. But that kind of leads me to something that, I was so angry when I read the snap counts. Like, why did Solder start? Tell me, Zach, you're like, we're big fans of your work. You and I, we tweet a little bit here and there, you and I. Tell me you have some magic ball answer for me, because there is no reason on God's green earth that Solder plays over Pert. You're trying to develop Matt Pert, and this year is the year to do it. So next year he's seasoned and ready to go, but he got 4 freaking snaps.
It's funny. Anytime you tweet pregame, like we see who they're running with the first team. Anytime I even say that Solder is running with the first team, like nothing makes the fans more angry.
He's just bad.
I don't know if you're gonna like the answer. I think I don't know that the coaching staff loves Parrott as much as like they did when they drafted him. I think he's been a little slower to develop than they would like. I don't think they really trust him out there just yet. And they trust Solder. I don't know if I'm not saying that's the right decision or the right thought process. I mean, and they've even gone away from the rotation, which that was like a big thing Joe like pushed last year, and he still talks like they're going to do it every week, but they truly haven't done it, which it just shows you that the fact that Nate Solder's corpse, whatever you want to call him, the fact that they keep playing him ahead of Parrott, like it just tells you what they think of Parrott. Unfortunately, I like Parrott's potential, and I agree with you. Like this team's not going to the playoffs; they should be trying to see what they have in this guy.
Yeah.
But they don't seem to want to. So you have to think he's not necessarily a future part of the plan as a starter. At least, otherwise they'd be starting him right now. So it's very strange for sure.
Then let me ask a wild card question then, because listen, there wasn't a more maligned offensive lineman that we had than Eric Flowers would do right, because he had a bad attitude. His father was involved and everything like that. And here he is playing with whatever they're calling their team. I mean, it's still Washington Football Club. Can you do something about that, by the way? I mean, these people need to name their team. I mean, it's old by now. Yeah. And then Flowers is playing, guard, and he's playing pretty well. I mean, is there an opportunity even for him to play inside, because he'll have help left and right and he can anchor in, and if he's athletic enough, maybe he can pull. Hasn't anybody even considered him playing guard? Because isn't it better that he's on the field and off the field? I'm still scratching my head on why don't they plug him in somewhere?
There was a week early in the season where all their guards were injured that he was practicing a little bit at guard, so they at least like the idea of it. Maybe, I mean that'd be interesting. I mean, maybe they see his future as he's a swing tackle, which ideally you don't use a third round pick on a guy who can't start. But
you're like, third round pick. Oh,
Zach,
great.
If we switch gears here, because I do want to talk about this because they deserve their fair share of criticism last night too. What are your thoughts on this bend don't break cover 2 defense? I mean, sometimes we don't give up points. We gave up 30 last night, but then we're also giving up a ton of yards and we're losing a ton of time on the clock.
Yeah, I think Patrick Graham is just kind of doing what he has to with his lack of talent that he kind of has on defense right now. And it's not going to work against a guy like Tom Brady. They'll get luckier where he can confuse guys like Derek Carr. And, I think he could scheme against Jalen Hurts. I mean, Logan Ryan not being there doesn't help, obviously. But I think he's just so limited by the lack of talent they have, especially at pass rusher. And, the inconsistent play they've been getting at D-line. And the linebacker group is kind of a mess with Blake Martinez out. James Bradbury is not having a good year. I just think they're good players and not playing as well as they need to. So the last few games, the genius Patrick Graham narrative came back, and it's because he went back to simplifying things and scheming the pass rush in a way that made these guys look better than they maybe actually are. But unfortunately the talent maybe isn't as good as we thought it was going to be. But losing Blake Martinez, not having Logan Ryan, even losing Drill, who wasn't really even having a good year, those are all factors, I would say.
I did expect more defensive
got to hit Brady
right now, earlier in the year.
And you know how Brady is. If you don't hit Brady, if you don't rattle Brady, he's going to pick you apart. I said it earlier in the week. I'm like, if you can manage 3 to 4 sacks on Brady, you got a chance to hang in there, because he pouts like a baby. You know what I mean? And I'm not a Brady hater, but when anything goes wrong or even closely goes to wrong, he's throwing a fit. He's yelling at the refs. He's stomping off.
Yeah. Well, because the refs listen to him. He's Tom Brady, so that's why he does that. It's like LeBron James. And
if you don't hit him, and and Carl's saying here, defense wise, I mean, Zimenez is another healthy scratch last night. So there's been some big time misses, and if you're going to do anything about this bend don't break, and I think it plays strong that if you do the bend don't break type of defense, which we all agree has its potential, You need a pass rush. You can't have no pass rush and give away the middle of the field. Give away the middle of the middle. Give away the middle of the field. If you're bearing down on the QB, he's going to make a mistake. But you can't let him sit back there and have the middle of the field.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to, Lorenzo and O'Shane have been pretty big disappointments throughout their career, but especially this year, they were banking on them again. I think that was a miscalculation. And then Azeez Ojulari, I know the fans love him, but like he's been pretty inconsistent if you look at it. Like his stacks have come in spurts, like in like 3 games, 4 games, and the other games he's kind of been invisible, and they kind of have been relying on him as their top guy. So they need someone to be it's got to be tough to watch for them seeing Marcus Golden have 10 sacks in 11 weeks for the Cardinals when they refused to play him last year, because that guy just produces sacks when he's on the field, and they need a guy like him, and they don't have that. Even
the Giants have to go from a team
last year was better than what they have now.
Absolutely. Did we get rid of him 2 years ago? When did we get rid of Golden?
That was he was last year. Remember, he came back, and then they didn't play him at all, and then they traded him back to the Cardinals, and he's been killing.
Yeah, because that's when we thought Pert could actually play, because in camp Pert was throwing Golden around like a rag doll, and we were like, oh, maybe we got something here, The other thing about Zach, about what you're talking about that a lot of people don't realize, is a guy like Ojulari, like he's never played this late in the season. In college ball, he's winding down to his last 2 weeks of the season. Yeah. Like this is the end. Like, we don't put any stock into it, but college players, now their first year in the league, especially a guy like who's getting 50, 60 snaps like Ojulari is, or at least in that ballpark, he's going to play 6-8 weeks more than he's ever played before. Some of these guys they're not ready to do it. Like he might be thinking like, usually I'm winding down and playing the bowl game in a week, and now he's still got another 4 weeks of ball.
And he's only 21 years old. Like he's super young, or 22 or whatever he is. So
I get your concern though, Zach. I absolutely get it, because look, so many players on this field, are guys that showed flashes of potential, but never consistently brought it every single game or every single play, So I get what you're saying. I don't know if he's still tied with the rookies and like the leader of the sack board. But yeah, they come in spurts, right? So I get the concern. I absolutely get the concern, but I'm still hopeful for the guy,
Yeah, he's a lot of the thing is he shouldn't be a team's like number 1 guy as second.
Right, of course.
But that's kind of the hand that the Giants have dealt themselves, I guess. So
and there's, as Carl says here, Carl's just cranking out great comments here. There's no identity to the team. There's no alpha male on the team. You've got Blake Martinez. He's out. Logan Ryan's out. Yeah, Jabril. So you really
doesn't step up into that role. Like, he's paid like it, but he doesn't step up into it. And that's the one thing that kind of pisses me off.
Yeah, they don't. A lot of these guys are kind of more passive personalities. Like Daniel Jones is a captain. He's not very fiery. Yeah. Saquon, I don't think really has. Sterling Shepard maybe has that a little bit, but he's always hurt. So
I think Saquon was early on. He's looking like he kind of wants out of New York at this point. Like, I'm done with this disaster show. Just the look on his face, it's not the same positive energy that he had like when he first entered the NFL.
Well, because and I'm sure a lot of that has to do with a lot of the love has faded just as he keeps getting hurt, and then his numbers keep going down, and it's a shame because obviously he's crazy talented, and it's not his fault he got picked 2nd overall. That's kind of been
by a team with no offensive line. I feel bad for him.
Yeah, but he did, and he's a running back, and he's been hurt a lot, like everybody expected.
Can't they get him in space at all, like Matt Forte or Bell did, in his earlier days? Like they still want to run him up the gut. They still want to run. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like I know it's a cheap way out, but it doesn't bother me if you put him in a bubble screen. Or you get him out somewhere, on the perimeter and let him run. He does look slower. That burst is not there. You could see that ankle is still lingering on the guy, but they don't seem to scheme him the right way either. By now, 4 years later, you should realize that he's better in space than he is between the tackles, but they still want to hand the ball to him up the gut.
Yeah, and part of the problem with Saquon has always been, even when he was great as a rookie, it's all big plays or he's losing yards. Like there's like no in between with him. Where if you look like last year, the running offense was really good with Wayne Gallman down the stretch, and I don't think it's because Wayne Gallman's like amazing. Same with Devontae Booker. Like I didn't think he was very good, and then those 2 games he was running the ball really tough. Again 5 yards at a time instead of 20 or 0, which that's kind of it's hard to like unless if you're like the number one running back and you're giving him all the carries, it's tough to have a guy like that, especially if the rest of the roster around him is not very good.
Well, this is why I think Garrett also, writes his ticket out of town. Like Booker had 100 yards last week, and we basically ignored him again. Like all of a sudden, Booker disappears. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like you keep asking yourself, if we're not giving the ball to Tony and Galladay, and we're kind of giving the ball to Barkley, but not really. Like it's not like Ingram's catching the ball. It almost is like, okay, guys, everybody's going to get the ball 3 times today. Everybody plays equal amount of time. I mean, I feel like I'm watching a flag football game. Like. There's no reason why Booker couldn't have gotten himself, 10, 15 carries.
Shoot, Eli Penny's been running the ball well this year. So,
yeah. All right. Well, where do they go from here? Like, well, what is it? Like, I mean, I know what we'd like to happen. Like, so Kitchens, I'm assuming takes over the play calling. Is that a fact?
I don't know so Judge was kind of weird about that at his press conference today. I asked him that, like, because there hadn't been any official announcement, and he kept saying over and over again, it's going to be a collaborative effort. It's going to be a collaborative effort. It's going to be all of us in the room. And then somebody directly asked him, my coworker asked him, like, are you going to be calling plays? And he's like, everything is on the table. So I wouldn't necessarily say, I mean, it might be just Judge doing this thing where he's being needlessly coy about something, trying to get competitive advantage on the Eagles or something. I imagine Freddie would make the most sense. But I wouldn't say he might be trying to do something strange where they have multiple play callers. I don't know.
I think he's probably trying to be stealthy about it, right? And trying to get the Eagles off, which is going to do absolutely nothing.
I know. It's gamesmanship for gamesmanship's sake, and it doesn't really do anything.
Right.
And I did a little bit of the research this afternoon, and I tweeted it out for everybody just to get an idea of, so Kitchens was the OC for Baker Mayfield for only 1 year, that 2018 year. And I looked at the 4 years Baker Mayfield's been on the Browns, and the 1 year he had Freddie as the OC. So out of his 4 years, and really it's 3.5 because we're in the middle of his 4th year, it's basically his second most productive year in almost every category. With completions, attempts, yards per throw, touchdowns, like everything seems to be that Freddie's not afraid to take the ball and go vertical with it. He did throw the ball a little bit more downfield when he took over for Garrett last year when he was on the COVID list. Any thoughts to like what Freddie brings to the table that Jason doesn't?
I think the main thing would be that I think he's more willing to take shots down the field, which I think Daniel Jones on like PFF's numbers was averaging like 2 throws downfield throws per game, which is very low, especially because he's actually pretty accurate down the field for a guy who makes a lot of mistakes in the intermediate area. But yeah, I would if Freddie is the guy calling the shots, and I imagine they'll be taking more shots down the field to Kenny Galladay and John Ross and Slayton and guys like that.
Here's the
I can we talk for like a couple minutes more, but then I gotta get going.
Yeah. I know you're jamming. Last thing. So here it is, 310 completions. This is 2018. Baker Mayfield with Kitchens, as the OC. Second highest of his career, 310 completions. Attempts 486, second highest of his career. Yards 37.25, second highest of his career. Average throw 7.7, second highest of his career. Touchdowns 27, highest of his career. Okay, and interceptions 14, second highest of his career. So Freddie seems like you said, he's not afraid to take the ball and go downfield. I guess my final question for you, and then I'll let Mike you jump in. You could give Zach one last one. Is what again? I'm not asking for anything hardcore, but like do you feel it's going to do anything? Like, is this going to spark them at all to a couple wins? Like, holy shit, they mean business, or is it going to be a little bit of refreshing so guys aren't angry, any longer? Like, hey, we're getting the ball. And secondly, will that convert to some wins? Can they get back to 6 wins this year?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Freddie in 2018. That was the year he was the interim head coach and the offensive, and he was calling the plays, and that's when the Browns played their best football, like you mentioned. So I think there is like a precedent for a team changing the offensive coordinator and then things getting better. But what I actually wrote about for the morning, which is coming out, is that no matter like all the changes they make around them, they still come back to the fact that their offensive line is a mess. So while I think they do have wins on their schedule, I think they very much, as long as if Daniel Jones stays healthy, and some of their other guys, like they can beat a few of these teams. They can get to 5, 6, 7 tops. I would say. I don't think they're gonna get to 7 wins, but like you could see it. You could see it play out. So in theory, I think they come out look better against the Eagles. Maybe they come back to earth next week, and then you kind of settle in and see what this offense really looks like.
Go ahead, Spartan Mike. What do you got? And then we'll let Zach go. My man's got to write some articles and stuff for the morning.
I understand. Zach, I just want to ask one question. Jason Garrett's gone today. Who goes next from the Giants organization?
Who goes next? I guess you could say Dave Gettleman. I don't think that'll be till probably the end of the season. But yeah, I think the writing's certainly on the wall there. I mean, the other big ones that you're keeping an eye on are, Daniel Jones, what they do with him, Saquon. I imagine he'll be back on that 5th-year option. And the problem is a lot of these guys they can't really get rid of because they've restructured so many of the contracts. And I don't know that many of these coaches that they would necessarily fire. I think Patrick Graham's sticking around unless he gets a job somewhere else. So I would say Gettleman's obviously the one to keep an eye on. Obviously, I don't think it's happening yet. There's not really any reason to fire him yet, I suppose. So I could see it happening in week 17 or 18 or whatever.
Sure.
I saw Jason's note to everybody, on his way out the door. He's still a class act, I did notice he didn't mention the word judge at all in there. So I'm sure he's disappointed with Joe's decision. So, all right. Hey folks, you listen to another episode of the Giants Guys. Me and Spartan Mike are going to stay right here live. So hang in, don't disappear. We're going to let Zach bounce because he's got actual work to do. And we appreciate you hanging out with us. And everyone else, stay with us. We're going to answer all your questions. I see there's a ton of them over here bouncing around. Zach, I mean, good luck the rest of the way through, man. I know it's tough sledding when you're, trying to find something different to write about and podcast about and get involved with. But that's the broken record every single week. It's Gettleman, Jones, Judge. Gettleman, Jones, Judge. So I don't know how long the Garrett topic lasts, but now you got Freddie Kitchens to beat up for.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for having me on, guys. This was fun.
Yeah. Thanks, Zach. Always a pleasure.
Man.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right. So, Spartan, I got a ton of questions in here I'm going to try to get to.
Cool.
For one, I don't know if you know this, but we've got our friends here from Italy. Okay. They always stop. Yep. They always stop in. Carl's been firing out questions for me. I'm looking through here. Oh, there was one here I wanted to, this here. It was about solder. Where was it? We were talking about cutting solder and saving a bunch of money. Where was it? Oh, here you go. So, Giant Sport, Opinion Sports, solder cut saves $14 million alone. So we'll have some.
Okay.
Yeah, solder's not coming back. I mean, there's no reason to bring solder back. But like as Zach said, even with solder going, possibly, Mark Hernandez is not going to get a renewed contract. Maybe Price comes back as a backup. You can't depend on Gates. So that $14 million is not really going to go very far when you have to literally bring in 4 new linemen. You're hoping, again, I know a lot of you folks don't necessarily like Shane Lemieux, but you're hoping Shane Lemieux comes back strong. I really don't think you can depend on Gates. I don't know what your thought on that, Spartan Mike. I mean, he had a big injury.
What I hope for is, look, I love Gates. Gates is like one of the few guys that was a Giants. He actually wasn't even a draft pick. He was an undrafted player, but really stepped up and brought it game to game and was kind
captain
of that offensive line.
His peers voted him captain.
Yeah, and he's a tough dude. I love Nick Gates. I really want him to come back and be successful. So I clearly think that next year, we'll bring him back and we'll enable him to have a shot at least. But we have to, the Giants have to be realistic and have somebody there just in case Gates isn't back to this full force, somebody that they can kind of put in there. And I am getting a little sick of this because I do kind of feel like we've been doing that. The Giants have been doing that the last few years. They get some, backup level guard that comes in, they kind of swing him in when somebody else isn't working out.
Yep.
But yeah, I hope Gates comes back, but they have to be prepared to move on. I really think when it comes to the offensive line, we got a lot of draft picks this offseason. We shouldn't go for a skill position. There's no point in getting our offensive weapon, like no receivers, no quarterback, no running back.
No, again, if we want to get outside of making the same mistakes that we've made for the last 5 years, you load this draft up with offensive linemen and pass rushers and linebackers. Because as someone here, Mason says, Blake's going to have to restructure. They're not going to cut Blake Martinez. I mean, he's a top 4 inside linebacker in the game. Sadly he got hurt, but he's a fan favorite. And, he proved once again that when he's there, like, let Mason think of this. The reason why they brought so Martinez, they said, had a bad year in Green Bay. And it's because they brought in a new defensive coordinator, if you remember, okay, and they changed his role, okay? They changed his role to like a mop-up role. You know what I mean? And instead of being a downhill cerebral player. So as soon as he came back to the Giants, remember, he already played with Patrick Graham in Green Bay. So Patrick Graham was like, oh, yeah, if Martinez is available, go get him. Because Blake knows how to run that system better than anybody because he played with Patrick Graham in Green Bay. So they're not going to get rid of the best linebacker they've had since Antonio Pierce. Yes, he's going to have to restructure. A couple of these guys are going to have to restructure. I mean, listen, Shepard's $10 million. I know he's hurt all the time, but when he's on the field, he moves the chains and he's Daniel Jones's go-to guy. How we've struggled without Shepard. When Shepard is on the field, we move the chains. They have to figure out a way to restructure him. I don't know if they can. So I don't think Mason. I don't think he's going anywhere. But Crowder, Ragland, they got to go. Like Crowder's fine as a backup. He's not an inside linebacker. He's not a downhill backer. So beside an offensive lineman and a pass rusher, they're going to have to bring in another inside linebacker.
Yeah, and real quick, Craig, I mean, because I'm seeing all these, we're talking about the big names, the big dollars that are getting cut. And Soldier, first of all, he's not good, so he can just get out the door. But a guy like Martinez, in 2018, like the middle of the season, Gettleman was getting rid of some of the better players on the team to try to improve the cap room for next year. I don't really know if I want to do the Giants to do that again. I more so want them to focus on the holes they already have and plug those in with a complete new set of guys. I don't want to get rid of Martinez. I know it'll save money, but like guys like Martinez, I mean, I don't want to look to them as the cap room saviors, I guess. Because I want talent, whatever talent.
Yeah, you're going to have, like I said, the only way you're going to get cap money is Solder's going to go. You got to restructure Shepard. And I think Carl said here, would you be surprised if Galladay doesn't come back? Like, I mean, man, that would just be so foolish to turn around and I mean, again, the dead. I have to. If one of you guys are out there, got Sports Track, you can look it up. Look up what Galladay's dead cap money is. I mean, Carl, I'm pretty sure. I'm about 90% sure the dead cap money would kill him. On cutting him. So yeah, I mean, it's his first year, right? So there's no way to cut a guy like Galladay. You could trade a guy like Galladay. But no, Carl, there's no threat there because the money, the economics still runs the game. Now, a guy like Barkley, you got two things with Barkley. There's no in between. It's Barkley comes back on the tag or Barkley walks. There's really no in between on Barkley because, if they want him, they could tag him. But I don't really think they could give him a long term. They're going to have to find money somewhere. And I'm not really sure where it's coming from. Logan Ryan, I think already restructured. Does that sound correct or no?
I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. A couple of these guys did restructure in the last couple of weeks to move some money around. But, again, they're going to need to find money. And, again, the draft, no skill players. They're going to have to go hot and hard after. Listen, the kid from Iowa, the center, I think it's a great. Yep. Yeah. I think it's a great move. I love the kid. The other lineman from. Is he Georgia? Where's the other?
Bama's got a lineman.
The Bama, yeah. So those two linemen there are you could easily get one of them, right? And then go ahead.
I was gonna say, what about the end from? I mean, we might have a good enough pick. What about the edge from Oregon? I'm always cool with an edge. He's going to be the first pick in the draft. He's literally going to be the first player off the board.
You know what I mean? Like like there's no way anybody's going to sit around unless they trade down. But the only trading down ever do is for a quarterback, right? So he's never going to be on the board. Like I don't know he's going to go to Detroit.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Then
You know what I mean? Unless
lineman rebuild draft, and honestly, I wouldn't care if they got 11 picks. I don't care if they use 7 of them on mine.
Oh, here you go. Mason took care of me. Bradbury cost $9 million more to cut than cap hit if Sport Track. Yeah, Sport Track is usually really right, Mason. I would stick to Sports Track. Sport Track's really good resource. And Carl is Linda Mom. Yes, that's the kid from Iowa. It's a no-brainer. Like
Carl, you're gonna need a big car, man. He's a big dude. Yeah, you're gonna have to drive out to Iowa and bring him on out to MetLife.
Yeah, you might have to make that trip yourself, Carl. But that's the that's the kid. Jason, is that the kid from Bama?
Hold up, this is the first time I'm hearing that guy's name, and I'm sorry, I have not done a lot of draft.
Well, that's because we were wallowing in on our Michigan State team getting their ass kicked.
Yes, right. Now that I'm done focusing on them because they can't make the national title, I can focus on other teams and other players. North Carolina State.
NC State. Okay, so look, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna same thing. I'm definitely gonna have to go back and look at some stuff because I was looking at the tackle from Bama and the center from Iowa, and then what's his name from Michigan?
Neal, there it is. Somebody, Jason just said in the comments, Evan Neal from Alabama.
Yes, Neal. Which I'm assuming Neal would play right tackle. Do you draft a right tackle with the first pick? I don't know. It's not really.
Job done, just bring him in. I don't care. Like you know what I'm saying.
Yep. Because if Neal is on the board, I think you're taking him. But if the center, and again, centers aren't normally a first round pick. Ben Pouncey, I think, was a first round pick back in the day.
Yeah.
The kid from Iowa was a stud, and then if one of those two are gone, I mean, Jason likes I'm gonna see if I pronounce his name right. Okawanu. If Okawanu is available, you're taking him. I'm gonna have to look on Jason. I'm gonna have to look him up, watch him tape. But otherwise, you're going with the defensive end from Michigan. I mean, him and his running mate. Hutchinson and his running mate on the other side are both pretty special players.
Yeah, and I hate to admit that. I hate the University of Michigan, but, I do understand if they have a good player, the Giants have to take him.
So Mason's hot on getting rid of Bradbury. Now cutting Bradbury in 22 makes some sense. Save $12 million, but I think he's getting restructured with this deal. He's only 28. So I know he's having a bad year, but, man, I don't know if you can cut a guy that, was a Pro Bowl player last year and then you cut him this year. Like, that just – you're not going to be able to create the right chemistry, and it says a lot about your team if you start bailing on stars. People start talking. People won't want to play for the Giants if they, if you start bailing on your guys. Now, guys like Carter, Zimenez, Hernandez, Ingram, Solder, those are 6 guys right away that aren't going to be there. You could bank on it, write it down in a notebook, keep receipts all you want. Those 6 players will not be on the team next year. The only thing I could think of potentially would be is because the Menace is on his rookie deal that he came back as a backup player. He offers you really nothing,
Right. If you're going to get some backup, get somebody that might have potential if we tossed him in. Get a younger person. He's not worth it. Yeah. I do want to say 2 things to that point. Here's my concern. Like with the Bradbury thing, I feel like he's been a little bit misused this season. He used to be in more man situations last year, and now he's in zone coverage. I don't think that's his niche. But this is my next point is actually a little bit more to the cap situation. Everybody's concerned about the cap, but guys, the Giants have spent so much money on free agents that don't really do all that much to begin with. And I'm not saying that means the Giants have to give up on free agency, but
yep.
We get all excited about the idea of having these new players in, but the Giants, I don't think they can really consistently look to high dollar free agents as their savior anymore. They gotta focus on doing better at what, of course, he was great at. Getting those guys that are well under the radar in free agency. Sean O'Hara, perfect example. Undrafted free agent in Cleveland.
Yep.
They get Sean O'Hara. that guy turns out to be a stud for the Giants. That's what the Giants need. It's not about getting these guys that cost $15 million a year.
No, and on top of that, like, you got to continue to have luck with your undrafted free agents, like like Rich Seubert or Rick Gates.
Yes,
like right now, none of the linemen. The biggest mistake that the New York Giants made in 2021 is expecting Sean Lemieux not to get hurt, Nick Gates for not to get hurt, and Hernandez to have a bounce back year, and Solder to come in strong. They made this huge. Let's just call it is what it is. They were so busy fixing everything else that they made a gamble that those 4 players, Solder, Hernandez, Gates, and why am I just drawing a blank?
Gates, Hernandez, Lemieux. You're not talking about Lemieux.
Lemieux,
right?
yeah, Lemieux. Yeah. And Lemieux, they were making a calculated choice to ignore the position because they thought those guys were going to play. And not only did it backfire a little bit, it entirely imploded upon them, and they lost, all everything because now they can't protect Jones. Now Jones is running for his life. Now he's regressing into that scared cat that he is, running for his life. So instead of like stockpiling cornerbacks and stockpiling wide receivers, they needed to get linemen. And I'm going to say this too. This is going to be an unpopular thing. And Spartan Mike, you can jump all over.
Go ahead.
Well, yes, if you don't agree with it, it's fine. I know most people don't agree with this, but the Giants are one of those teams that are like, they subscribe. And I don't even know where it comes from, by the way. Somebody's going to pull out some bullshit analytics on me. But drafting, and listen, I'm in analytics, people, so it's not like I don't believe in them, okay? So I'm all about technology and the numbers and the data science. I get it. Numbers are great. But here's the thing. When you draft, if you purely just close your eyes and let the draft pick for you, it's kind of like a bad fantasy pick. Like, hey, the numbers say that guy is the best on the board, so we're going to take a safety. Umgats, okay? When all else fails, I don't care what anything says anywhere on any line. I don't care who makes it up, right? Exactly. Thank you, Mason. Analytics without context are useless. Right now, there are only 3 things they can do. It is O-line, and edge. Or edge, and O-line. I don't care what sequence you put it in. There's no other choice, okay? There is no other. So this whole draft. So you're telling me with let's say that Chicago pick, let's say it's pick number 7, number 8, and on the board says that the 8th best player in the draft is a safety. You're going to draft a safety? I mean, you people are crazy. I'm sorry, you're crazy.
Look, a lot of people will say that you have to go with best available, and I do understand that, but I feel like the Giants have been saying that they've been doing that for the last 10 years, and they don't get the right guy as it is. I'm kind of with you because there's also a little bit of positional value there too. I don't know if if you have a really, really, really good edge available, and then you have a perhaps a Hall of Fame type tight end. What do you do? Right? It's tough. It's tough. I mean, right now, again, like from a skill, yeah, Carl's right on this, and we've been saying it for years. Big holes have been the O-line and the edge, and they've been completely ignoring it. And for the record, if you guys want to go back to Jerry Reese did that with the linebackers. Okay, he never refused. He drafted a linebacker. He drafted Jaquan Williams in like the 5th round. That was the only linebacker. Then he drafted Greg Jones, which was a bust, and he never would invest in linebackers. So all those years they got away with it because they had great, a front 4. Okay, they had a great front 4, so they got away with it. And that 4-3, yeah, you didn't really. I mean, it was like you just needed guys that can kind of get the job done. They weren't really focused on getting elite linebackers. Yep. So for 4, 5, 6 years they ignored they struck gold with Antonio Pierce, and then they tried with John Beeson, and they tried with Casillas, and they tried to plug these guys in there, and it didn't work. Well, now here we are with the same thing, with edge and offensive linemen. Like, they need to go find absolute can't miss. I mean, that's the thing.
it has to be Joe Thomas. You know what I mean? Like, you need to
Yes.
get the guy that can't miss. He can't have anything on his record that doesn't work for you. He has to be a can't miss. We can't find a guy who's developmental and then wait another 2 years for him to develop. This Pert thing, Zach was saying that, they just don't like him and they're literally letting Soldier play over him. What does that say about Matt Pert?
They never expected, they currently do not feel like he's going to develop into anything. Right? Isn't that what you're kind of going
at? And how is it even possible?
I don't know. I'd rather have Pert out there than Solder, but that goes back to a topic we haven't talked about in a while. There's a failure to evaluate talent properly.
Yeah, because I just thought, like, you know what? Pert on his worst day has got to be better than Solder, and let him develop. If he doesn't get enough snaps, how do they expect him to develop?
Was he looking that bad? I always thought he looked like kind of okay, maybe as good as Solder, on a bad day. But I mean, I thought he looked better than Solder, but that was just what I was seeing.
Well, remember, Mike, he was hurt. Then he came back, and then Thomas was hurt, so he played left tackle for one game. Like, he hasn't played right tackle for, I don't think he's played more than 2 games in a row at right tackle.
Yeah.
So, like, right now, I would tell you that they don't really know what he can do. Oh, people, I do want to mention this really quick. We're not gonna go too late. Today we're probably gonna wrap this up in a minute. This is the Giants Guys podcast. It's brought to you by Pickup. Okay, Pickup is a pretty cool app, you guys, and I need your support out there. If you guys love and follow us and take care of us, so Pickup is props. It's a prop bet, but it doesn't cost you any money. It's like playing a poll on Twitter. So if you go to nygiantsrush.com, there's up in the nav bar, there is a spot, or they're in the articles that you read. There's a prop. So all you need to do is put your telephone number in so they can verify you're real, okay? And then you can play as many props as you want. It tallies points for you. When you get enough points, you can go into the Pickup marketplace and buy whatever you want. You can get DraftKings gift cards if you want for sports betting. For me, Fanatics is their partner. So you can go in there and buy a brand new, Super Bowl bound hoodie. Well, that was a long time ago. Okay. Or you can buy yourself Spartan Mike, what are you wearing? What's the jersey you got on?
Get ready for this. Can you guess?
Well,
numbers.
I can't see this.
David Tyree, man.
Oh, nice.
I wear one.
I was gonna say, like, I can see the 5 or the 9. Like, I couldn't make it out the way it's sitting on your shoulders.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That's cool. So look, if you guys listen, you can go to Play Pickup yourself. You can go to NY Giants Rush and play the props. They're fun. You know what it is? I'm gonna put a whole bunch of new ones up there. It's will Freddie Kitchens be the OC in 2022? Will Saquon Barkley actually rush for 500 yards? Like, just play the props. Plus, you're supporting us. If you become a Pickup member and play. It's just something to do. You're on a train, you're on the bus, you're on your lunch hour, having coffee in the morning, just play Pickup. Secondly, MGM Sportsbook. As I always say, King Sportsbooks has the same deal so far, 2 months. I think we're going to go into the second month with it. $10. If you're a sports gambler, go to MGM, sign up, make an account, verify, $10 on the money line. When your favorite team scores a touchdown, you win $200 of free bets. So your team doesn't even have to win. Your team just needs to score a touchdown. So if you had the Giants last night on the money line, Andrew Thomas scores a touchdown, you would have won $200 of free bets. So if you're out there and you're saying, hey, what can I do to support my guys at NY Giants Rush and the Giants guys, play Pickup and talk to your sports bettors and let them know that we've got a special code on nygiantsrush.com. Wait, listen to this. Nice, Mason. Mason, because you're playing and you love it, you wish you could we wish could filter by who put up the prop. All right, well, Mason, text me, or tweet me, DM me when this is done, what you want, and I will call the engineers at Pickup and let's see if we can get that done, because they're really big on feedback. Okay, because they want it to be a good experience, right? So definitely, Mason, hit me up, DM me, let me know, and then send me your address. And for that input, I'm going to send you out some swag. I got a whole stack of a brand new car magnets, all right? And I got a whole boatload of posters that I'm going to give away that I've accumulated across this crummy season we have. So Mason, hit me up with that. I'm looking here at some other stuff. Jason, how bad is Pert at practice? I mean, we don't even know. They don't let a lot of people into practice anymore. It's a totally different year. So but it's got to be. Again, it could be an evaluation thing, right? Maybe Rob Sale doesn't really like him, Jason. I mean, that's all we can say is Sale is seeing something in Pert, and he's not letting him compete for whatever reason. I think Spartan Mike said it before. There's got to be a reason why they're letting him play. All right, support the Rush family. Thank you, Carl. Carl, by the way, which is on Twitter, which is Fly Guy. We're going to bring Carl on in a producer role because Carl is the ultimate businessman, and we need help with our business. So we're going to be bringing Carl on to help us out. Last thing for me, Spartan Mike, and then I'm going to throw it to you is, hey, listen, what we need, taking the show, taking the website in a different direction. We're going to try to get more involved with more production, more video. I've got some exclusive content coming up for you guys. If you're subscribers, you're going to be able to get behind the scenes material right to your phone. I'm working on some pretty cool deals. All right. So what I would ask you guys to do is go to YouTube, bang, 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 subscribe on the YouTube channel, follow all these guys. And of course we got a David Deal interview coming up, still working on his schedule. Carl, yes, Carl says he's looking forward to working with us. Now, so my final thing is this. If you're a content creator, good with video, like producing stuff, sports videos, highlight packages, maybe you're a writer, you like to write, just send me a DM and be like, I'm a sports writer, I want to write for you guys. Or, hey, man, I'm really good with video, really good with editing. Or, hey, Craig, I got this really cool idea. What do you think about this? I'm open, man. I want to take this to a different place. Because here's the thing I'm going to let you in on. I can make a New York Yankees rush. I can make a New York Rangers rush. I can make a New York Knicks rush. We can do all that, folks, if we get all you people to keep running with us. We need as much support as possible. MGM and Pickup are our sponsors. If they're happy with us, then we can do more stuff for you guys. And we're trying to blaze some new trails. Spartan Mike, I'm going to take it to you. Give me Spartan Mike. Give me what your final thoughts on Garrett. Give me your final thoughts on Freddie Kitchens, and give me your final win total of the year, like with Freddie Bond. Like, do you think that we can actually get back, maybe to closer to what we were last year?
So first things first, cheers that the Jason Garret era is over for our offense. Secondly, I am actually a little concerned, and I don't like to sound like the guy who wants to lose. I do not. But if Freddie Kitchens kind of does okay or pretty decent to finish out the year, I'm worried that we bring him back and then we're not good next year. Or we bring back Judge and like the whole, everybody kind of gets an extension. I don't want that. I think what this team needs is organizationally a clear house. We start fresh, new general manager. They can evaluate Judge, figure out what direction we have to go in from here. But ultimately, what the Giants are doing is not working. Again, glad Garrett's out of here. I feel like this offense has been completely wasted at his hands. But hey, let's see what happens. If the Giants win, I'm trying to think of how many more games they have throughout the year now, right? What are they down? 11?
So we would be able to. Well, we're not going to run the table, but they're 3-7, right? So you've got 7 more games to play.
I think the Giants are going to finish with 5 wins. I think that's it.
I like it. I also like the fact that Mrs. Fly Guy is listening to the show. So thanks for tuning in, Mrs. Fly Guy. Carl's our guy. We're gonna Carl takes care of us. We take care of Carl. And
right.
and Carl knows he had a bad back, and that's how we got to be friends. So I'm all about helping people out. So I'll let life's too short to be an asshole. Excuse my French. But one, this is Spartan Mike. Make sure you follow him. If you're not, listen, there's almost 7,000 of you people that follow me, and I'm very privileged and very thankful for that. I love my fam. do me a favor. Fly Guy, which is down here in the notes right now, please do yourself a favor and follow him. He's going to be helping us out make this engine go faster. Over there, Spartan Mike. He's my new superstar. Okay, so I'm looking to run with Mike. Mike's a good guy. Hit him up. Talk to him about ideas. Engage him in conversation. Lastly, you know what? If the Giants win 7 games, I'd be ecstatic. So I'm right with you, Spartan Mike, on the fact that it looks like a repeat of next year. And I want a new GM. I'd like to keep Judge one more year because Jones is coming back, and I think Judge actually likes Jones, and I think they do have a little something, you know. I think the discipline's good for Jones. Don't pine away for Shermer or anything like that. Just we're gonna get an offensive line, and this thing is gonna work. So I'd like to tell you to have patience. You shouldn't have patience. We deserve better. The New York Giants fans deserve better.
We deserve what your sweatshirt says right there: a Super Bowl championship and nothing less.
100%. I mean, like, listen, the step is to get to the playoffs right now, right?
Oh yeah.
So
a little wild card chip in where we get blown out in the first round. I will take that.
Listen, I would take getting blown out, by the way. I would take getting blown out in the playoffs just to know that I was better than, you know, Washington or the Eagles. Like, I mean, like, I'm going for baby steps right now. But number one, they got to use the talent they have. Let's see what Freddie Kitchens could do. Judge and Jones are going to get another year. I don't know where you're going to find the money, but I will leave you with this, folks. This time last year, you guys were all crying that we had no money. And what did we do? We found so much money. We spent like crazy, right? We all went into we all ended 2020 went like this. Oh man, we got no money. We got no money. Stupid Gettleman, we got no money. We got no money. And what did we do? We spent like children in a candy store, stuffing our pockets full of Snickers bars until our teeth fell out. And it didn't work out. So don't worry about the money. It's not your money. It's not my money. Let them figure it out because they'll always figure it out.
Yeah.
Right?
Money's not the concern. What they're spending it on is the concern. That's my last piece.
That's different. I didn't say that. I just said don't worry about them finding the money. What they do is a completely another story. Hey, thanks for listening to another episode of the Giants, guys. We'll be back next week, hoping with David Deal. If not, you know, we'll figure something else out. We're working on a bunch of stuff. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.
Peace, guys.